And Gregory here today, and we're going to be talking about the updated blog post that looks like just went live. So let me see. Wait, did it say live streaming isn't available in here? Let's make sure everything is good and that we are live, but
we're not live.
We're not live?
Oh, hang on.
Yeah, we're live. Okay, good stuff. So anyway, if you haven't seen it yet, the letter just went out with the updates, and everybody's been wondering what's been happening, what's going on with Unity, what they're going to do. Are they going to change things, roll things back, just stick with the existing plans or whatever? And we're going to go over that right now. So welcome, everybody. Please say hello in chat. Let us know what you think about all of the stuff going on, and we'll, I guess, just start reading through and going over all this stuff. So anybody want to say hello before we do?
Hello.
Hey. No. Dave, do you want to tell everybody about your Vegas trip before we start?
Yeah, I think they would probably lynch me if we went into an hour chat about me being at Vegas and all the immersive wonderfulness that I went through when I was there, when they want to get to this topic. But people can change my mind. If you say in the chat that you want to talk about my Vegas trip instead, then we'll go with that.
Fair enough. All right. So let's, I think we'll start just by reading through this, and then everybody will be on the same page, and we'll go from there. So it says, summary of Unity Runtime Fee Program. On September 22nd, 2023, we shared a letter with the summary of our changes to the runtime fee policy. This page summarizes and replaces the prior runtime fee policy. So take a look at that letter in a minute. And it says, if you're on Unity Personal or Plus plan, the runtime fee does not apply. The new runtime fee will only apply to Pro and Enterprise. So that's already, I guess, the first change. There was that initial Plus plan where if you were over 200,000 installs and $200,000, you would get charged for installs at 20 cents per after that. And it looks like that is completely gone. Yeah, I think that's this letter right here. This is the open letter. So this is the open letter. We'll go through this in a second. I want to read through the rest of the kind of summary, though, for everybody who just wants to know exactly what's going on. And then it says, no games created with any currently supported Unity versions will be impacted. And I think this is probably the biggest change. Only those created with or upgraded to LTS version released in 2024 or later. The currently referred one is 2023 LTS. So it's only for previous versions of Unity, it looks like, and only up until it kicks in with the 2023 LTS. So if they're on 2022 or any of the other versions, I guess maybe 2023 and just not the LTS, they're not impacted. And then it says, for those games, the fee is only applicable after a game has crossed two thresholds, $1 million in gross revenue for the trailing 12 months and 1 million initial engagements. After crossing those two thresholds, you can choose to pay the runtime fee either based on monthly initial engagements or 2.5% of your game's gross monthly revenue. Ultimately, you'll be charged the lesser of the two. And this initial engagements, my understanding of this is like it's kind of basically like your unique players installing the game. It's, your person installing it. And I assume it would still count if they bought the game on the Switch and then they went and bought it on, some totally different store like the Xbox store. But I assume just your unique actual people signing up. So key updates. Yeah, you guys got thoughts on that before we go further? I mean, that's quite a bit already. It's not retroactive on 2022 and I guess 2023 non-LTS versions. And they've dropped that cap. There was that rumor of a 4.5% cap, but it looks like it's now a 2.5%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Am I reading that correctly? That the splash screen is optional on the personal plan?
That's what it says right here.
Next. Yeah.
Let's get into it. So yeah, Unity Personal, no runtime fee, and the splash screen is optional. So I know people were a little bit concerned about removal of the Plus plan because they didn't want to have the splash screen there, and it looks like this kind of just removes that completely. And they'll increase the annual revenue funding limit from 100,000 to 200,000 and remove the requirement to use the Made with Unity splash screen. What does the $200,000 mean? I guess maybe that's you still have to upgrade to Pro if you're over 200,000.
Yeah, that's always been the case. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're just bumping that up from 100 to 200. I guess that's what the plus number was before.
Yeah.
Okay, that's nice though. No more splash screen. I think that's a nice, smart change. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about that in several options. One, it will actually be better for Unity in several ways, and also a lot of users are going to like it. A lot of users have wanted to remove it for a long time, and also a lot of people put out, let's face it, not great games with Unity, and the Unity splash screen has started to be associated with bad games and good games. I completely agree with that, but that's some of the association that's come out with it. So having the ability to just remove that splash screen, a lot of people have been asking for that for a while.
I think
I'm telling myself to be very careful with hot takes, so I'll try not to be too spicy on mine. But I will say, a splash screen comes up before the game you have bought and are playing. Now, how many people's first introduction to a game is the splash screen that they have when they bought it and press play? Most likely, for most people, the splash screen is not something that's even relevant to you till after you've already seen some kind of trailers or some indication you like the game. You've probably bought it, and you've probably downloaded it. So while I understand the impetus of saying you don't want to be associated with bad games, I don't see a single universe where a single sale has ever been directly impacted by the fact it does or does not have a splash screen in front of it. So that never was an issue for me personally.
Except those awful games that accidentally crash when they show the splash screen because they didn't do it right.
Yeah.
Seen plenty of them. Anyway,
I think it's mostly a solution to that removal of plus too. It's one of the few things that people would not want to have to upgrade to Pro just to get rid of the splash screen.
Yeah.
At least a good chunk of people.
I wouldn't have put. To be honest with you, the key updates, I wouldn't have put the splash screen first. I would have put that at the end because it doesn't.
Well, a lot of people were upset though with the removal of Plus and being forced to upgrade to Pro to get rid of the splash screen, like going from $300 to over $2,000 just to get rid of the splash screen. That was a deal breaker for a lot of people. But I don't know how many people were like me and didn't even know that Plus was an option and that you could get rid of the splash screen for $300. I didn't even know that was an option. I thought you had to go Pro to get rid of it.
No, it was in the finer points at the bottom of the
maybe that's why they didn't
pages.
sell hardly any Plus licenses anyway.
Well, the thing is, a lot of people, if they were going to do Plus, they went straight to Pro anyway.
Yeah. Or they do it right at the end to remove the splash screen. The gating of the splash screen wasn't a big helpful one, I think. So let's go on to these other points, though, because I think there's some more important stuff. So the runtime fee is forward-looking. Runtime fee does not apply to any games created with currently supported Unity versions. It only applies to games created with or upgraded to the LTS version releasing in 2024, which is the 2023 LTS or later. So I hope that they get these numbers in line soon too. Yeah. I think that was something I talked to people there about it before. I know that something they'd like to do. It would be great if that was like actually in line where 2024 releases through 2024, and they're not a year and a half behind.
It's a topic we brought up, and it's a topic for another day. But it's confusing as hell sometimes, the fact that the years are all over the place with the LTS and when it actually releases and all the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is probably the biggest change, though. I wasn't expecting this.
Yeah. May I go back for a second to splash screen? I see a little small problem with it. The runtime fee not working backward is something that should be from the start. The splash screen for me is one small problem. If you have a game that's in 2022 or 2021 or 2018 or something like that, and starting from March when Plus is gone, you will be having a splash screen added to your game if you update it.
Oh, if you do a new build? Yeah, I wonder. Yeah. Maybe. I have to find out and get some clarification. Maybe it's just getting removed for all the old versions too. Because
they stating that it's LTS version only, 2020, there is in 2024. So that's only the information that has to be added, I hope. Maybe it's further down that we can check. Yeah, that might be in there somewhere. We'll have to find out. What about the retroactive stuff? You guys happy about that? I mean, I think that's generally like one of the things that was most upsetting for people was the fact that this was going to apply to things they'd already built or started building and stuff. And
well, you're going on to the editor terms bit, the third column. So you might want to
I think the forward-looking does apply to not being retroactive. So yeah, if you're on 2021, 2022, you're no longer getting slapped with these fees. I know that's what really ticked people off, is that they were retroactively changing the terms under which you developed and released your game.
Yeah. And it looks like that's no longer going to happen because
Yeah.
this next part is the editor terms are going to make sure that you can stay on terms applicable for the current version of Unity that you're using as long as you keep using that version. So they're going to kind of do the same thing that that Epic does with Unreal, where you lock in. At least that's what I'm reading from this. That you're locking into a single version or a single license, and they're not going to change it again going forward.
That's how I read it. Yeah.
It seems to speak to the objection of what's to stop them from changing it again in the future.
Yeah. And I wonder how much that's going to help with the trust issues that people are having. I know a lot of people just kind of lost a lot of trust for Unity because of this. So I think that's probably, hopefully make a big difference, but I don't know. The last part on this page is the runtime fee. This was one, before, actually, let me read it off and then we'll talk about it, because this is one that I had a lot of thoughts about before. It says, on a monthly basis, you have the choice of the lesser of 2.5% revenue share or the calculated amount based on unique initial engagements. Both your initial engagements and your revenue are self-reported from data you already have available. You'll always be billed the lesser of the amount. And this is this is the part that I've been thinking about ever since this first came up. And there was all this talk about data collection and proprietary data models. I'd been wondering, it seemed to me that this was going to just be self-reported. It didn't say that it was, and it was worded in a way that made it sound kind of the complete opposite, like there was some magical AI and tracking stuff, I think. And that was the idea that people got. But I always just kind of assumed it would be just like all the other systems are, the Pro plan and Unreal and all the other things, where you tell them how much money you made, you tell them how many installs you had, and then you get the Pro license and pay the fee. And it looks like that is the plan. My guess is that was probably always the plan, because I never tell me what you guys thought. But when I saw a lot of people talking about spyware being installed that's going to report home and tell you how many installs you had and all this stuff, it just didn't seem plausible to me. It seemed like that doesn't seem like a realistic thing that they're going to do. One would have all kinds of legal problems, all kinds of technical problems. It would piss people off and probably not have a lot of payoff versus what everybody does now. You just tell them how many you sold or how much money you made, and you pay the percent on it.
Yeah,
Unity
it was
poured gas on the fire by that statement they made about, we have a proprietary model that will prevent piracy and all this other stuff.
Yeah, the proprietary data model wording was the was
telling people that just doesn't work. I mean, at the end of the day, I was kind of excited because I was like, wow, Unity solved piracy. That's awesome, because I built a lot of games that have had millions of downloads and they get pirated millions of times, even free ones for some odd reason. People still pirate those. So it was like, great, I'm now going to be able to put something in my game that literally, when you load up, goes past the splash screen or not, because they're getting rid of it, and then comes up and says, oh, you've pirated this game. You can buy it from the real game store at this address. Well, no, that wasn't going to happen. They didn't do that.
My opinion was always much more boring. It was every game, medium size or larger, has analytics. They already know how many people are installing it because it's a vital part of making your game good to anybody. Unity probably just wants you to use their analytics service because it's a new thing they can charge you for. And in doing so, there's numbers, and you use those numbers to calculate sales. Makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's. You also notice, find the word installs on this document. It's engagements now.
Yes, I think because installs was, it has a different meaning. I don't think installs is the thing that I think they were trying to go for, unique players on an ecosystem. You buy the game on Nintendo Store, it counts, and if you buy it on a different store, it counts too, because they don't know that you're the same unique person. There's no way to tell, right? But install sounds like you remove it, you uninstall it, you reinstall it, and you get it again, or you come back a year later. It sounds confusing, but I think it's, my understanding is it's just unique players essentially is the goal, or unique players per reported platform. So it's, you tell them how many you had on Steam, how many sales or new players did you have on Steam, how many did you have on Xbox, you add them up, and that's it.
Yeah, but they added back the Webgl applications. Yeah, it's in the frequently asked questions down below.
Which part was this?
That's why it's engagements, I think. Search for our games distributed through subscription services, streaming services, or as WebGL application required to pay the runtime fee. It's now how those this one, and that's yes, because in one of the posts they said that WebGL will be out of the runtime fee.
Yeah, that's confusing, and I wonder if this is correct. I'm gonna send a message to the guy I know at Unity and ask him. I was under the impression that was not correct.
Maybe then you're just going to the
well, you technically still install the WebGL thing. You just install it one time on a server running. Well, you can spin up multiple services with multiple installs of it. So maybe that's where they're going. But yeah, it should have been a little bit clearer than.
Yeah, that part's unclear. Yes. I don't know. So, I didn't even talk about this. Is that on here? Hold on.
Does itch tell you how many people play your game? Like how many unique people play your game? I don't think they do.
I don't think it does. I think it tells you how many downloaded, though, if I remember right.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, you do there are analytics on itch, and I believe there are downloads for that. Yeah. I should know. I do enough on them.
Oh, before I forget to tell everybody, later on today, in about 2 hours, we'll be able to get answers to a lot of these questions, because I'm going to be doing an interview with Mark Whitten live, and he's going to be talking about and answering all these questions. All the things that we don't know the answer to, I'll be asking him a bunch of questions. We'll get answers to it, as many of them as possible. Let them clarify all this stuff. So it's in 2 hours. I almost forgot to mention it. It's actually linked on that post right there. Let me see. Make sure that it's ready. Oh, there's 300 people in there waiting right now.
Why are they waiting in there and not in here?
I don't know. Maybe they'll have to hop over and then come join, and then hop back over there. So yeah, we'll be talking about that later and diving into, because I feel like that WebGL thing seems wrong, but I don't know.
At the end of the day, they've still put that 2.5% cap in there, and it's as they say, it's the lower of the. Let me make sure I get this right.
Yeah,
so
that's
me.
That's a runtime fee estimator. You can check how much you have to pay.
Yeah, the lesser of the two.
I guess that makes sense. Maybe they're thinking of these big web-based games that are making a ton of money, but they're maybe not tracking those. Yeah, okay, I could see that.
And then they would still only come up to the 2.5%.
Yeah.
Nobody would be reporting engagements on itch. They'd just be reporting a revenue share.
Yeah, that makes sense. Nice. Okay. Well, I guess that clarifies things a little bit for me. Let me see.
And since it's self-reporting, both revenue and engagements, it seems to me that pretty much anybody could just decide to go with a revenue share if that's what they want to do, right?
Yeah, it looks like you would just go with whichever is lower. And I think for like PC games. What's that?
It's the lesser
of the two, but I would prefer if they would just say whatever's the easiest bookkeeping for you. I don't know.
Well, you would always go with the lesser of the two from a business standpoint anyway. Because unless you don't like money, and you just want to give Unity more money.
Yeah. And if you don't like money, hire someone to do it for you, and then
Hey,
there's nothing wrong with that. I hate accounting.
Oh, they've got a new runtime fee estimator as well, it looks like. So you can put in some numbers here and figure out what your actual fees are. So is everybody in chat? I'm curious. You guys good with like just 2.5% seem like a good cap? Does that? I mean, for me, that would remove all fears of stuff, because I know, like, hey, I got a cap that's relatively low. But I'm curious if everybody else, like, is that low enough that you don't care?
I expected 4. Brutally honest,
I thought it was going to be 4 too. I mean, I'd seen everybody'd seen the leaks that have been going around, and people said 4 online and on YouTube videos and stuff. But
though, if you're a clever company, you leak that it's going to be 4, and then you come out with 2.5, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's so much better. 2.5 is a lot better." I'm not saying that happened. I'm not saying that's what they did, but it's what I would do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that way, like I said earlier, you can find out who leaked it. So give everybody a different percent. Of course, there's too many people at Unity. You'd have to tell them all different percents up to whatever 7,000. But okay, yeah. So make it 4. What do you guys think about? So there's this. This is another thought that I've seen going around, and I think it's probably not a good idea. But a lot of people want to like remove the installation fee completely and just force it to be a rev share. I don't think that makes any sense to me, at least. Work at doing PC games, at least. Like I would way rather have the lower install than being forced into a rev share. But
whatever platform you're on, well, most of the platforms that I've ever been on, and I've been on all the mobile ones and the PC ones and all the rest, you get downloadable reports, so you know how many your installs are going on. Well, not just installs, your users, your engagements, you know how many there are of those. So you have those numbers ready to go. And it's self-reporting now. It's not going, because it's never going to be a thing put on the actual, on your build. So you've got that self-reporting, and you would literally just send them the report saying, this is what my reports say. Now, whether you trust that, whether you believe all that, is a determination on yourself and all the rest. And they've certainly proved themselves to be a bit shady in this bit. But there's going to be some self-reporting. You're going to get those downloads. You're going to send it to them. And then you'll have to work out whether that's 2% or whether that's the other way. And that's, again, an easy thing to do. There you go. So I don't think we need to think about that too much.
yeah, I think it's easy to do too, and probably a really good money saver. So the idea of getting rid of it, I don't like at all. I would way rather have the install fee.
And sometimes when you've worked with somebody who's financed your game, or a certain publisher or something like that, a lot of times you have to send those details anyway for that scenario to work out the percentages that those people are taking from the game that you've done. There you go.
Yeah. Well, and then so Man Bear Tree said that big companies don't like reporting revenue. Is that true?
Some of them kind of have to report revenue.
I thought most of them love to talk about, and unless the revenue is bad, I thought they generally like kind of love to talk about it. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be too big of an issue though, telling Unity or whoever else how much money you made. It's not like it becomes public information anyway. You're just paying out an invoice. So
it's not unusual in the industry to be telling people your revenue of your stuff.
Yeah, and
But
usually
you've got these licenses fees for like
kind of easy for people to calculate and figure out too, because they can look at how the game is doing, how it's selling, and they know the price of the game. They can kind of work out, maybe not so much on free-to-play games, but on any paid game, you can get a good idea of how it's doing. Just go look at Steam and you can get an idea of how it's doing. It's not like it's all secret. Let's see. So, I don't know.
Got that open letter. I don't know if you wanted to go into that.
Did they address? Somebody was asking it. Oh, now I've already forgotten what it was. About needing to be online. Did they address that you can't use the editor for more than 3 days if you're offline?
I hadn't heard that.
That was in the original.
Yeah, that was in the original. That if you are on personal, you have to be online. If you're not online, you have only 3 days of work.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was in the original. Yeah.
So I was just wondering if they addressed that in the new announcement.
I don't see it anymore.
What's the reason for that? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, we knew.
Okay. I'm not the only one, huh?
Nope.
Yeah.
I mean, there must have been like some reason that they wanted to put it in there, but I wonder what that actual reason was. That's weird.
Now it's 30 days.
So they have put into the thing that the Unity runtime phone home does not phone home by default.
Yeah, search
okay.
for this info on the website. Yeah, it's at the middle of the website.
That's on the FAQ.
Yeah, in the FAQ.
Okay. Any other changes? So starting November 2023, Unity personal customers will get a sign-in and online customer experience. Customers need to be signed into the hub and their Unity ID to connect to the internet to use Unity. If internet connection is lost, continue to use it for 30 days. I wonder why. Like, what's the? It doesn't.
And it's only personal. It's not in the Pro or Enterprise. It's only in Unity personal.
I wonder if that's because Pro already does that, though. Pro probably already does a license
I thought Pro
check.
already did that because if you were offline for a certain period of time, it needed to check that your license was still valid.
Yeah, pretty much
Yeah,
any
I know.
license application needs to check to see if your license is up to date.
Yeah, but Unity Personal is free license. I don't understand why.
Yeah,
they
that's
check
what's confusing.
Yeah,
valid.
yeah.
The only thing I would assume is they want to have analytics how many developers is working in Unity. This is the only thing I can think of that this would be needed.
Could be some marketing opportunities too to send updates and stuff. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out. So you guys want to go over the letter from Mark?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Hold on, let me make sure I can see chat in case anybody says anything super insightful real quick. All right. Let's pull it over here. So, to our community, I'm Mark Whitten. Obviously, I'm not Mark, but the letter's from Mark. And I lead the Unity Create team, which includes the Unity engine and editor teams. I want to start with simply this. I am sorry. We should have spoken with you more, and we should have incorporated more of your feedback before announcing our new runtime fee policy. Our goal with this policy is to ensure we can continue to support you today and tomorrow and keep deeply investing in our game engine. You're what makes Unity great, and we need to listen to you and work hard to earn your trust. This little tiny, narrow text is very difficult for me to read, apparently. The way that I've got the window sized, it's like this little tiny sliver on my screen. So we've heard your concerns, and we're making changes to the policy we announced to address them. Our Unity Personal plan will remain free, and there will be no runtime fee for games built on Unity Personal. We'll be increasing the cap from 100,000 to 200,000, and we will remove the requirement to use the Made with Unity splash screen, the part we talked about earlier. No game with less than $1 million in trailing 12-month revenue will be subject to the fee. And for those creators on Unity Pro and Unity Enterprise, we're also making changes based upon your feedback. So the runtime fee policy this is the big part. We talked about this earlier, but anybody who's just joining us now, catch it now. The runtime fee policy will only apply beginning with the next LTS version of Unity, shipping in 2024 and beyond. And that was Unity 2023 LTS, kind of clarified in the other spot. Your games that are currently shipped and your projects that you're currently working on will not be included unless you choose to upgrade them to this new version of Unity. We'll make sure that you can stay on the terms applicable for the version of Unity editor that you're using as long as you keep using this version. Before I go on real quick, I feel like one of the main reasons that they didn't want to do this at the beginning was because this is definitely going to stop some people from upgrading. You guys think that that's going to be a big issue, or that they're going to be able to get people?
It will certainly keep some people from upgrading. But one thing I like that last paragraph you read there, people were concerned about what's to stop Unity from changing the fee from 4% to 10%. Well, as long as you're on that version, they can't. Right? If this is binding.
Yeah, assuming that this is some binding thing, that's my understanding. I mean, it's bold, so I assume that means it's binding.
Is that how legal text works then? Oh, I just skipped most of the contract, but the headings are in.
No, it's bold, so they have to. I don't know, but do you guys think it's going to stop a lot of people from upgrading, or do you think it's going to?
Practically speaking, anybody who's ever had a Unity project that lasts longer than a year knows perfectly well you're deathly afraid of upgrading anyway. Regardless of anything to do with anything else, you don't want to upgrade because everything explodes. So there's already a disincentive to do so. So again, a different form of disincentive is just another disincentive, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I haven't upgraded my Highland Panic because even though I want to play around with MPPM, I just don't want to risk breaking the game when I'm going to release in less than 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, no, that's the best time. You want to wait until a week before release to upgrade.
Okay, all right.
That's when you want to do all your major changes and get a game designer to come in and tell you what all you need to change to. It's perfect timing, right?
Yeah.
All right, so let's go on then. So hopefully everybody still continues to upgrade. I don't know. For games that are subject to the runtime fee, we're giving you a choice of either 2.5% revenue share or the calculated amount based on the number of new people engaging with your game each month. Both of these numbers are self-reported from data you already have available. You will always be billed the lesser amount. So you figure out how many installs you've got and how much money you made, and then you tell them whichever one or both, and then you get the lower number. I assume you just tell them the lower one, but I don't know. Then we want to continue to build the best engine for creators. We truly love this industry, and you are the reason why. I'd like to invite you to join me live for the fireside chat, which will be in 2 hours right now on the channel. There's a link right there. You can go check it out. And then thank you for caring as deeply as you do, and thank you for giving us hard feedback. So I don't know. I'm good with the changes. I think that it kind of all made sense and probably alleviates most of the fears, especially the kind of going forward thing with the terms of service that Greg was pointing out. But what do you guys think? Is there anything else you would have had them do differently or change, other than obviously the initial launch and all that stuff? But like in the fixing part, is there anything you guys would have had them do differently? Also in chat, is there anything you guys would have had them do differently with this update?
Well, I think
something that's missing.
I think they went a bit above beyond what I was expecting and hoping. One thing that I think could be clarified is this getting rid of the splash screen for personal. It's from what I read in the chat, it sounds like Unity's confirmed that's not until 2023 version.
That's kind of what it looks like.
Yeah. So if you're on 2021 or 2022, you don't have that option.
Yeah, and I don't know how that works out with the removal of plus. So that's something we'll have to figure out, because you used to be able to get rid of it with the removal of plus. Maybe they'll just allow those plus licenses to keep going too, though, and just not cancel them. Just
well, I
not
think
do
they
new
are
ones.
because didn't one of the things say with personal or plus, you don't have to pay the runtime fee? Or I can't remember if that was in the original announcement.
I'm not sure. That's something we'd have to find out about. That's the only one I don't really know about. Oh, hey.
My number one, if there's one thing, so I would say whatever they came up with, pragmatically speaking, for most stuff I do, it's just going to be a base numbers check between the other engines and see what comes up. And for even engines like Flax, it's still like they still won 4%. So realistically, it was always just going to be a numbers game for me, with one exception. The remaining hanging issue, in my opinion, that is kind of supersedes all of this. They could have come out with 1% and it still wouldn't matter. The one question left is the retroactive licensing stuff. Until a statement is made about that, I don't think any of this matters. Until there is some blatant, definitive explanation or statement that says, hang on a second, we said this in the past because of something else that was shady. We did this as a new replacement to verify we can always trust us. We have a public-facing statement, and then that disappeared. And it's like, okay, so if you retroactive the thing that's meant to stop you doing retroactive changes, everything downstream is irrelevant. So for people who think that I'm overly zealous for Unity, I'm a pragmatist. I'm perfectly fine when it's, from the financial standpoint, it objectively makes sense. From a trust standpoint, I can see that as a fairly understandable complaint to have. And so I'm still on the fence there. So I need to know.
The bold isn't enough to push you over the edge?
Bold is not good enough for me.
Like italicize it real quick. I can get in here and go into console mode and fix this.
And you're talking about the stuff that,
highlighter.
Yeah,
sorry, just to clarify, you're talking about the stuff from the Git page as well, yeah?
Yeah, like what I'm saying is, like, truthfully speaking, you can't really hold someone accountable to anything that doesn't have consequences. If there's no consequences, there's no reason to not do something. And as it stands, there's zero consequences to change your mind, other than more angry tweets. So the truth is, like, I think we need to have something that demonstrates that, yes, this is great. I personally am perfectly fine with this current state of affairs, but I need to know that there's an actual negative consequence to Unity for changing their mind. That's what I want to see. Not just that we promise not to. I need something that demonstrates if we change our mind, something bad happens to us so that we will not do that. I don't know what it is, but I need some visual indication that that is a negative for them to do so.
Yeah, I don't know enough about it. I would assume there's some like legal way that they could just bind themselves to it, but I don't know shit about the law, so I can't really
it's funny. It's funny, as this was all kicking off, I've got both sides of things. I've got the social side of things with you guys and all the rest, where I'm seeing all this, I hate the runtime. And then I've got the LinkedIn side of things, where I'm linked to a load of entrepreneurs and investors and stuff like that. They're all talking legal theory. Like, they're all going, now they've removed this, now they've changed that terms of service in this way and that way. How does it affect in Europe? How does it affect in America? What are the legal ramifications of all this? I'm not going to get into that. I'm not a lawyer. I don't want to be fucking quoted over that shit. So I'll leave that be there. But it's interesting to see both sides of the effect that were going on while this was kicking off, until I just turned off all the social media at one point and just went, no, I can't stop getting pinged every 5 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. The legal side to me is what made me think that the runtime tracking thing just seemed totally implausible. I was like, just like I can't picture them doing that. Like it seems it's something that would be a nightmare, and you'd get sued in every European country and all around, and it would be like it seems like it wouldn't be worthwhile, and people would be trying to circumvent and hack it anyway. Like so, it's interesting. What do you? I guess I'm kind of curious, Dave. I mean, I know loosely your whole thoughts on this, but what are your kind of overarching thoughts on the whole pricing change and stuff? Because you've released games that this would definitely apply to, and you would be choosing between an install fee or a 2.5% revenue share, assuming that those games got upgraded to this version. What are your kind of thoughts on it? Do you think it's good, bad, problematic, or expected?
Yeah. So I've worked on quite a number. I mean, when I worked in the AAA industry and we were releasing the big budget games, this wouldn't have affected so much. Even the original one wouldn't have been so much affected by this. But don't get me wrong, all the people that are saying it's not about the big people, it's about the end. Even the big companies like Microsoft and Sony and all the rest, when they look at a new fee being introduced retroactively onto their prices, they still hesitate and look at it and go, hang on a second, no. But when I was building the indie games companies and releasing indie games, yes, I've had several that have had over 20 million downloads and all the rest. Some of them were freemium, some of them were paid. Now, the paid ones, this would have affected them in a different way. When we're building our business models, we think about who we're going to hire once the game becomes successful, if the game becomes successful and all the rest. If a sudden fee approaches you and comes out of nowhere that you hadn't planned for in your business, sometimes that can affect who you're hiring and all the rest. So there's an active thing there. When you're looking at the freemium versions, it becomes a different scale of things. With the previous pricing in the previous way, it was worded. And I'm going to say worded there because this was a marketing mistake, very much so, from the outgo of a lot of this. And the whole, we're not quite sure what's going on with everything else. Anyway, with these current terms, I'm partway through developing things on Unity. I'm going to finish those projects because I'm partway into them. And the way this pricing is listed at the moment, this won't affect their final outcome when they come out. However, when I finish those games and I start my next thing, I will look at what engines there are. And here's a hot take. I do that every time. Every time I finish major projects or I start a new project or a company comes to me and says, we need you to build this vertical for our company, or we need you to do this or that, I look at all the engines and I say, which is the one I want to choose for this particular thing? Some of that might come down to which engine would be best visually in that area, which engine would be best to get it done quicker if it's a prototype and all the rest, or which has more abstracted APIs that I can put in other things, all the rest of things. Every time I start a new project, I look at the engines out there and I decide which ones I'm going to use. Now, I'm in the lucky extent that I've built my own engine. I've released games onto stores under my own engine, and I've used Unreal and all the rest, so I can switch to other engines. Some people aren't that lucky, and I get why they'd be upset by certain things. But my take is I'm building stuff in Unity at the moment. I will finish those projects. Those projects will come out under Unity, and then I will look at what's coming out again. If Unreal changes their pricing down, maybe I will consider going to Unreal. But at the moment, the 2.5%, I understand Unity needing to make money, and I understand these things happening. And this isn't the first software that's turned around and gone, we're going to charge more. It's one of the first ones that turned around, we're going to charge more on stuff you're doing now. That was a little bit different with the whole way the engines are laid out. So that's how I'm approaching this thing. I will finish my projects in Unity, and then I will reassess for the next.
You've done some web dev stuff in the past, haven't you, Dave?
Yes, I have done various things for CMSs and all the rest of the stuff.
Yes, I think this is something I have to keep reminding myself, is a lot of people come straight into games or similar industries, and it's very much vendor lock. You just sort of find a thing and you stick with it, you learn that thing. But I keep forgetting that kind of valuation you're talking about is just standard for enterprise development. Anybody who works in any programming language, especially in web, just does things. They look at a problem and go, is this something that requires a lot of speed? Does it require platform, distribution on multiple things? Which languages does the team I'm currently working with have the most proficiency with? And so the idea of evaluating each project for project's sake is just sort of what you do. And it just happens that in a lot of the stuff I do, Unity is by far, given the existing pricing model, the amount of resources and assets I had, it was just the right answer. A lot of people seem to think, though, that you're sort of stuck or locked to a certain product, when it's like, no, you should, no matter what it is, you should always evaluate the problem you have and the solutions available to you and pick the best one for it. Unity, again, like I said before, are not your friend. They are another product offering. And if they're the right offering, use the right product,
I got to drop, guys. Had a great time.
Thank you,
Greg.
See ya.
See you next week.
Bye.
Yeah, so the difference sometimes comes with games is the fact that the game can take a long time to develop, and you hire people specifically to build for a particular game. You look on when you're getting a job in the games industry, most of them, especially if you're a coder or the developer on that level, they turn around and go, we want experience in Unity, we want experience in Unreal. They're very specific on the which ones. There are some out there that basically go, you can have Unreal or Unity. We're not going to tell you what engine we use until you come and start working for us, and then you'll be told. But they expect you to be able to switch between those things. Now, how this affects all that and all the rest. So the thing I'm saying here is, if you hire a load of Unity developers to build your product, that's a consideration going into that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Plus, I have an absolute ton of Unity assets.
Yeah.
But most of them are 3D models because I have a lot of the tool set done myself. But
well, I mean, like, again, to go back to the brass tacks of this, a lot of the client projects I get are VR projects, and the VR tooling is dwarfed in Unity versus Unreal. Like, it's objectively, for every single thing you could possibly need to do, half of it exists in Unreal than it does in, like, you talk to Meta, you talk to any other provider of tooling, and they'll apologize to you for not having parity in both systems. So it's not a question of which engine do you like better. It's a matter of, I need to do this thing, the client needs this stuff, which engine has the tools I need to do the job. And a lot of the time, right now at least, I honestly think Unity have the best virtual reality tooling. I don't know about other engines that have any matching parity in that.
They do.
Yeah, that's kind of always been the case, right? And they were ahead of everybody by like a year on VR stuff and focused on development.
That might not always be the case. And again, when the next project comes around, you assess.
Yeah, like I didn't even know you could do VR in Godot. You can do VR in Godot.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
VR in Godot? Probably not. But the thing is, it's doable. It's a thing out there. It's a matter of measuring the expectations,
There's a reason Apple teamed up with Unity as far as their new headset when they were coming out and made such a splash about the Unity engine with the Apple ecosystem and all the rest. There's a reason that was happening, and it's not just a money and shaking hands thing. I'm sure that was part of it, but it's also because Unity's supporting all those headsets.
Yeah, I think they're always up at the forefront of that stuff. I really want to get one of those fucking Vision headsets, by the way. Sorry, you kind of brought it into my head, but I really want to get one now. I feel like it's going to do something different. Maybe not. I'm always wrong about tech stuff, so if you're looking at it, don't
hold your breath till next week. You just hold your breath till next week when we get the Meta Connect coming up and see what's going to come around there, because suddenly that's come around. I even forgot about it because of all the other talk that's going on, and suddenly it was somebody reminded me yesterday, oh, are you going to actually be at the Meta Connect thing? And I was like, no, I'm just going to go online for it. But
I forgot. Where is that? Is that in San Francisco or?
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be at their headquarters.
I'm not going to do it in LA, so it's a nice short drive.
They should do it in Orange County where it was born.
That's right. Do it right down the street, right? All right. So you guys want to take a couple questions from people in the audience? It looks like there's a lot of people just asking different questions. Some of them that we've already kind of talked about, like this one right here. Do personal, or is a 20 cent per install going to be there for 2024 LTS? And the answer is yes, no, because it'll be there for your 2023 LTS, but it won't be 20 cents an install, right? It's going to be whatever the new fee schedule is. Is it 15 cents still? I haven't actually seen the price breakdown. Where is that? Is it on the pricing page, or is it still the same exact rate per install going forward, or?
No, it was different.
Yeah, I'm not sure where those numbers are.
I
If
think
anybody knows in chat, let us know.
I've seen them. If you go to frequently asked questions, how do I calculate the runtime fee? There's the image.
Oh, I guess there's that calculator, huh? We could just use that.
Yeah, you can use calculator, but there's also an image. Here's the link to it.
Okay, let's pull that up.
Okay, yeah. So there's not the 20-cent fee anymore. It's the 15 on Pro and 125 on Enterprise for 1 to 100,000 after the 1 million.
Yeah, it's the first 100,000 after the million, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it won't be 20 cents, but it'll be 15 on those parts. But then again, capped at 2.5%. Oh yeah, somebody said it starts 15 cents. Let's see. Do you know what is? So one of you mentioned the Flax engine. What is that? It's not something I've heard of. I don't know why.
Imagine someone looked at Unity and then looked at Unreal and went, "I like those," and then let's see if I could remake Unity at home. And so they did. It's basically a lot of the good things from both of those engines and sort of a custom one. It's still a bit early days, to be honest. It has a lot of issues, but it's very interesting. Of all of the engines, I would be curious to lean into myself. It certainly appeals to me a lot more than Godot for various reasons, specifically C# stuff. It has very similar styling and language and terminology around the Unity side of stuff, but it also has the sort of the Explorer style approach that Unreal has, which I actually think is better in some cases. So I think it's my favorite of the possible alternative engines. But again, if we're talking brass tacks here, there's two currently industry viable engines, in my opinion, and a lot of other engines which you'd have to put a lot of work in to make viable. And I don't want to make engines. I want to work on projects. And so I'm currently none of the others are viable for the kinds of things I would do. If I did decide to leave Unity stuff, it would be to Unreal, and that's pretty much it.
Just to specify though, Jason, when you're talking about that, you mean the projects you're doing and
that I'm doing, yeah. Not saying for anybody else.
Yeah. Because Godot is still a viable engine. With releasable stuff, depending on what you're doing and that sort of.
Well, again, the truth, and let's just go back to something we've said on the show many times on many scenarios. The tool that lets you get the job done is the right tool. It doesn't actually matter. There are people who make things. There are people who make art in Paint. Like it doesn't matter what you use if it's a tool you're capable of using to produce whatever it is you're doing. But if you are, in my case, doing VR contracting, I can only do it in an engine that has the tooling required to do so. So use whatever tool makes sense for you. But for me, it's only going to be one of those two engines. But I would be keeping my eye on specifically Godot and Flax. And of the two, more likely I would be leaning in the Flax direction if it got the resources and scaling it needed. I just don't think it will in the short, even to medium term.
Yeah.
So Moonlight was asking just to make sure that you pay absolutely nothing with the personal plan. That is my understanding of the case. You pay nothing until you get up to 200,000 and then you upgrade to Pro. Yeah.
You have to upgrade to Pro.
Yeah. But that's always been like the legal license requirement too. And that again has always been self-reported, right? Like when you get to that point, you buy your Pro license. They don't like track your revenue in your bank account and
I'm sure there are some people out there looking at it and going, hang on, that game has made an awful lot of sales and we know they use Unity.
I'm sure there's a sales department that reaches out on occasion, but
pretty sure they're all on personal licenses. Yeah, that's probably but that's been the case for lots of 3D. Maya, I remember Maya being the case where you had to do that sort of stuff as well, and there were limits on what you could use, and then you had to upgrade and all the rest. So.
You ready to get your Unity dongle mailed to you? So you can run Unity.
I haven't got any more USB space on my computer. I'm literally dying from the amount of things that get plugged into this thing. I'm having to. I've got hubs and stuff like that, and I'm at the point where I reached the limit on my hubs as well. Because my computer every now and again is like, no, we're just going to kick off a load of these USB devices because you're using too many devices. And then it's like, okay, fair enough. Because I have my own Arduinos plugged into it to do conversations and stuff like that. And I had to remove a few of those because they were, I needed something else on
Oh yeah, let's pop that one up next. So somebody, Apement asked about the splash screen. That is getting removed, but only from 2023 LTS and going forward from what we've been able to determine so far. And then where was the? Oh, here. Let's hit the next question real quick before I scroll down and find that one. How do you get the bill when they charge you? I know, dumb question. It's not a dumb question. You just tell them. It'll be like, I assume, some web page where you just put in your numbers of how much you made and how much you owe, and then they just give you an invoice for it. That's my expectation. I don't think it's going to be anything more complicated than that.
Pure hot takes, complete guess, no idea about this at all. But if I was them, if I had software services such as analytics, it would be in my best interest to get you to use our tooling in your project, and in doing so, make the whole process easier and turn it into a one-click solution. So I would imagine there's been some connection to the idea of pushing the idea of using the services. You can
some option to use like analytics and automate it all.
I'm pretty confident that would be down the line. It's what I would do personally.
Yeah, I would too. I'd be like, here's a discount if you want to use the automated system. I could totally see that. All right, and then Cal asked who my favorite Unity employee is. It's probably Kelly.
Kelly. Inside joke. Sorry, everyone.
Don't ask questions you don't want to know the answer to. Huh?
You have to cross both thresholds to qualify for the fee. Yes, you got to pass the money and the install thresholds. And eventually, I will get down to the Centis, and there's a lot of questions and a lot of text. So scrolling down, but there was a question about Unity Centis. Do you guys know what's going on with that, with the AI stuff? I know it was like an included thing in the new Pro one or something. Oh yeah, I thought I saw it. It was
all very NDA, Jason.
No, I thought they said that they were doing like you got an AI thing or something with their last announcement.
In the old announcement, in the old announcement, Centis was supposed to be free even for personal, And
something like that, and there was like an asset thingy or something. I don't know.
It was definitely announced publicly as a thing.
If you scroll the pricing updates to the bottom, there's Unity DevOps, there's Unity Team Administration, there's Unity Asset Manager, but there's no word about Centis now.
I wonder why. I wonder if that's changed.
Yeah, because it was for 100% in the old.
To be clear as well, just because I see this, I've now seen this multiple times in the thing. There's a lot of questions about the idea of installs versus initial engagements. Yes, brass tacks, again, they're basically saying the same thing, but there's a subtle difference. Installs leads people to come up to conclusions that lead to every possible scenario an install instance may occur. By saying initial engagements means the first time an occurrence has happened. So while it may be conceptually an install, there's a huge difference between the first time I saw that thing and every time I blink, right? Conceptually, that's quite a big difference. And so that's the distinction.
Yeah. And I mean, that install count is coming. They already said it's self-reported. So it's just you telling them how many people bought your game on Steam or on whatever app store or whatever. It's not recounting installs or anything like that. Yeah, I searched for Centis. I didn't see anything.
Again, it's very important on the wording that Jason brought up, and I know you just said installs again, but when in the key updates they say runtime fee self-reported, and in there it's initial engagements, not initial installs. There is no installs reference on this document.
Yeah.
Now, this is a funny one. Will old Unity versions be available, or do I need to save it on my PC? What if my PC crashes? I would imagine that old Unity versions will still be around, just like they have been for the longest time. That they're not going anywhere. I don't think it's going to disappear like XNA and stuff, where you got to do some weird hacky stuff to get the install right.
Yeah, on the Unity website, there's I think up to 5.0, but you can find even I think on up to you can find up to 2.4. I think I found the oldest version on.
Again, somebody somewhere is going to download every single version, and if you ever want to find it, you'll be able to Google it and find it. That's just going to happen. That's just objectively going to happen.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about that. Let's see what else you got here for questions. Let's see. What was this one? Did the question of when your revenue gets counted get answered? Pre, post, pub fee, and when would they take their 2.5%? That's a good question. I don't know if that has been answered. the 2.5%. I assume it's I don't know. I really don't. Is it going to be off of the 100% or after Steam and Apple's 30%? What revenue number are they asking you to report? Anyone got thoughts on that? I mean, normally it's off the top number, but that's because it's the ones that are distributing it, and there's nothing else coming before it. So,
I mean, when you live in a world where 60% of it is probably going to the combination of your publishers and your platforms, honestly, which side the 2.5% land on is not entirely the biggest issue for me personally.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, that you'd favor it to be more towards your gross near net, but like,
So supposedly the GitHub page of the software terms and conditions is back up.
Oh, good. Well, that's nice. Let's see. Got that right there. This is the one, huh? It's got an April 3rd revision, and it's so it looks like it's just back to the old version, which makes sense. I would expect that with all these changes that they've done. So
Yeah.
let's see. What about the engagement? How's it going to be calculated? Let's see. Is there anything else here? What other questions we got that are unanswered? Is anything else changing except for pricing? It's a good question. I don't think there's anything else. Oh, the splash screen removal, right?
Plan the
plan is removed. You have to be online in once.
Yeah, the
30
editor
days.
online thing is a big difference, I think.
Yeah.
It's not a very big difference. I can't imagine that there are very many people that hits that aren't online constantly.
I mean, that comes down to the practicality thing. Like, I don't know many people who are spending an entire month working in a game with no internet. It might happen from time to time, but it is a big difference objectively. Like, it is a thing that didn't exist, which now is a concern, whether or not it's a big concern.
Yeah.
I can see it a problem. For example, in some schools in Poland, you can't have internet on the school. So the administrator will have to connect all the computers once a month, check the licenses for all the computers, and turn them back off. So, yeah, for some institutions, it can be problematic. They shouldn't use personal license, but sometimes they're using personal license. So I think things like that can affect some people.
I do think it's a mistake. It's a small enough, like, whatever benefits they're getting from it isn't worth the optic hit. Never mind the fact that it could actually, as you said, implement.
And we are also what just popped up in the chat. We are also not thinking about countries where connectivity isn't as good as in all other countries. Yeah, there are some places where getting to connect is quite pricey, and you download Unity and you can connect once a month or twice once a few months, and you have to go several kilometers to have connectivity. It is problematic.
Yeah, there are definitely some scenarios like that. I feel like they should just come up with a solution for those ones. I don't know what it would be, but there's some way to authenticate or just stay without updates or something. I don't know. Yori posted something in here. I've got to read off. Would you have wanted Unity to start accepting PRs from users to improve the core engine if they're strapped for cash to improve the engine? Yeah, what do you guys think about that? At first, I thought it was kind of funny, but now I'm thinking through, like, barring the legal problems that I'm sure are the reason that they don't do it, it does seem like it could be kind of cool. Like, if people who actually knew and understood the problems could submit requests for the fixes or do pull requests, which essentially is like saying letting people do fixes, submit them, and then Unity could review them and pull them in. It may also just be too much work to manage and too much to deal with. You may end up getting, like, a lot of garbage for a little bit of value if they went with that system. But I don't really know. It could be interesting.
Maybe they should just open a Patreon.
Go open a Patreon. Or you could subscribe. Let's see what this one was. On Twitter, Jono Forbes posted that some employees of Unity resigned in protest of the changes. Will those employees be invited back to the company? Like if I know.
Depends how they did it.
Usually you resign. I don't know if you get. I have
Well,
no idea.
Jeff went in the boardroom and did something terrible on the meeting table, so we're not having him back at all.
I also love the idea that it's like, would they be invited back as if they're just waiting, as if they didn't resign for no reason.
Yeah. Oh yeah. See, I'm curious if this will affect schools and pricing perspective as well as revenue. I wonder. I mean, I assume schools got like some sort of free or discounted rate on
It's
Unity.
an educational license, isn't it?
Yeah,
I would assume
I don't know how it's the new education license works, but the old ones, if you were a school from not the countries in the base regions, you could get Unity for free for most of the users. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
But
Yeah,
I
the
don't
plan.
know if
There's still a student plan up
Yeah.
on the thing. So
And that gives you like pro, but as long as you're registered as a student, right?
yes,
I
student plan,
haven't
but
looked at it in a while, but
yeah, but student plan is different from education plan. Yeah, that's another license type. Yeah.
Oh, that's fair. For the institutions, they got a separate one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Yorai mentioned that apparently they do this for NGO. I didn't realize that, which is pretty cool. I've been using a lot. So this last week, I've been working on this multiplayer content using NGO. So it's actually kind of interesting. I've been digging through there a lot. It's gotten a lot better. I'm surprised at how easy it is to set up dedicated servers and the peer-to-peer hosted stuff. It's all kind of, they simplified the crap out of it. Let me see. What else you got? Any other questions in here? How about Unity stop sponsoring YouTubers? Fair enough. Let's see. Yeah, I don't see any other questions. I don't know. So you guys got any other thoughts on this stuff? I mean, I'm gonna do this live stream in about an hour and a half. We're gonna talk to Mark and get answers to as many of the questions as possible. But I don't know if there are other questions we've got.
yeah, I mean, I think
there's a lot of stuff flying through.
I think a lot of people out there are going to be thinking of trust and whether they trust this stuff moving forwards and the statements and the procedures and the way Unity act in the next year, several years is going to really, really make a difference to whether this lands home or whether it doesn't. They screwed up royally, like beyond royally last year. I was actually on a forum the other day. Well, not forum. I was on a Discord where we were trying to work out what the biggest screw up was by other companies in comparison, and we were struggling going to Windows Millennium Edition and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, we were trying to think
My
of
vote's still Overwatch 2. I'm just saying, I think Overwatch 2 is
you're just going to get hate now by bringing in a game. So yeah, I mean the trust issue is going to be a thing. Unity did break trust. It was an incredibly stupid marketing way of putting it out there, and it was a bad move. Whether you trust them with the latest changes and how it moves forwards is going to depend on the next few months and how these things come to play. It's going to be interesting, the first company that actually hits this, the first companies that start using 2023 and 2023 LTS, I should show, because I got 2024 on the bloody thing. But those companies that use that and hit this, and that process goes through. Because, of course, this stuff isn't now, it's coming up in the future as to what companies. And if any company's releasing on a non-LTS version, good luck. So we're going to see how that plays out as it comes in. Now, if you don't trust them, you don't trust them. It's going to be as easy as that for a lot of people moving forward. There are people who've put a lot of work into long projects in Unity, and I think this will make them question whether they are going to move or not. They might have been saying we were going to move last week, and they might return and say, yeah, we're going to stick with Unity after these changes. We'll see. We'll see.
My one comment, I would just say, for anyone with that trust issue with Unity, I would just say don't. And I don't mean this for Unity. I mean, don't trust any company. Like, I don't understand why people are using the word trust and company in a sentence. This is purely from a perspective of, like, Unreal have had their own fair share of stuff. People seem to have forgotten about the entire year's worth of controversy when they first launched the Epic launcher and stuff. I'm not even saying good or bad. I'm just saying, practically speaking, there are tools. Sometimes they help you. Sometimes they don't. Try not to buy too much into them. Figure out what makes sense for you, use them, and nope out when it doesn't make sense for you anymore. That's about it.
Yeah. I completely agree. Trusting a company in general is companies are made up of people that change out constantly and things change, and it's a strange one.
Everything can change. Yeah, you should as a game developer you should know as much of different engines as you can. Yeah. As a storyteller, I would say the same. Try different marketplaces, check where your revenue stream is, that it's not depending on one company and their fickle engagements with TOS or anything else. Any company can change, and try to be as possibly secured with different kinds of possibilities for your projects, for your income as you can.
I want to take this super chat real quick from the Baver. This is something I've thought about too. I'm curious what you guys think. They were wondering, should they make a store like Epic? So we just talk a little bit about Epic having their own launcher and store. Do you just think this would be a good idea for Unity? I've always kind of thought like it seemed like something that I'm surprised they haven't like bought one already, like bought some store and integrated it and made it into a thing, because they've got a lot of games. They've got kind of that deployment. I mean, they've got access to those games already. They could probably do a deployment system and do something kind of like Epic does. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know how Epic does with that store. Are they making money now, or are they still just throwing money at it to grow it? Or you guys know anything about that?
Whether Epic's making money on it?
On the store, yeah. On the Epic store. Is it actually a profitable thing? Is it something that
if you look at the line items, it's kind of like Fortnite.
Yeah, I was going to say everything else just swimming in the Fortnite sea. Let's be real. There's a single other thing that matters.
I think how much Epic has several percent, and I think it was several hundred, if not several billions of dollars put it into the store. Yeah, and they only have several percent of market share. So it's you have to have lots of money to create this kind of store and get people into it.
You have to have Weta buying money.
Yeah.
Somebody brought up an interesting one as well in the chat, and it's now swung past because it's going so quick. The idea of Unity actually building a game like Fortnite and releasing it. As opposed to talking about the Epic Store, could Unity build a game and release it as a studio? There are pros and cons to this, obviously. I've been wanting Unity to release a game for a while for one simple reason, nothing to do with the money or anything like that. It will only improve their engine if they have to go through what everybody else has to go through.
Literally, we've been doing this, and I said this before, there is more episodes of the GameDev show, hours-wise, than there are Simpsons. That's how much stuff we've talked about this stuff. And my biggest... It is true. I've done the math on it. Go back. Legitimately more hours of this nonsense than there are Simpsons.
That means it's better than the Simpsons.
True.
That's how it works.
My biggest complaint ongoing for the entire history of all of Unity has been use your own engine. Dog food your stuff. Day one. Legitimately just actually prove to us that you believe Unity can be used to make games. Just do that. That's my number one complaint from day one.
Yeah, and there's some chat about Gigaya in there, but that's not what that was supposed to be. Like, I think that there's a lot of confusion on, like, Gigaya wasn't, from what I understand, supposed to be like an actual fun playable game. It was supposed to be like a tutorial teaching tool that showed you how to make those games and build stuff together. And I think it just didn't actually end up being that at the end, or maybe just didn't have enough time. I don't know.
Step in the right direction, way short of the mark.
Yeah, I think you need to just make a game without the thinking of sharing it and doing all the things that are difficult to do, turning it into a learning resource, just actually doing it and, like you said, dog fooding it and trying it out and finding the actual problems and fixing them. Yeah. There was another chat here. Predictions on the next game engine world snafu. Does Blender game engine make a comeback and cripple the global economy, or do we get Story Engine 5 or Daveware?
Daveware.
Daveware. That sounds like a name from the 90s, doesn't it? Like it sounds like a shareware
From the
company from the
80s.
90s, and you're going around passing out your Daveware floppies. I can see it.
Well, I'm in
I
danger
don't
of
want
saying,
Daveware floppy to ever be in a sentence again.
You don't have your Daveware
Not on
floppies?
my computer, definitely not. I will say,
welcome 21 or 2L.
I'm in danger of a hot take here, and this is purely just the logistics of the situation. These sorts of issues and snafus arise when expectations don't line up with with the actual realities. And so, when is that most likely to happen? When you've got a lot of people with lots of expectations, and the realities can't match it. And so, when you've got a lot of people making mass exodus to other engines, statistically speaking, the next snafu or complaints or issues are most likely going to be Godot. For no other reason, there'll be a lot of people with high expectations going to Godot, and stuff's going to happen. So whether or not it's deserved is an irrelevant question. But realistically, the most likely next thing will probably be Godot based.
It would not surprise me at all. Although I really want to see Daveware, to be honest. Floppy Daveware.
Yeah, me too.
I built a game with my own engine, and I released several games on it. They were for the Windows Phone, so you ain't being able to play it anymore because the Windows Phone. I had exclusive deals with Microsoft to build them for that way. I didn't choose
had
the
a
Windows Phone.
I was one of those stupid people who bought into their stupid grid-based desktop thing.
2 of them.
I have 3 of them on my shelf.
My favorite was the one that flipped open with an actual keyboard.
I got all of them
Really?
from Microsoft to build 2 projects for them. So
Yeah, because on the keyboard one, I could actually type fast without having to autocorrect and fix stuff constantly. Like I could type really, really fast because it had like actual buttons. With my Android one, I type 3 words and then I go back and fix it, and then I type another 3 words. And
Micro rant, I'm sorry, but objectively, every single generation, autocomplete has gotten worse. I don't know what it is. It now, I don't know whether it's me or it that's illiterate.
It's your
I
age.
wish it would just stop autocorrecting. Like I just would turn it off completely. It's fucking obnoxious.
Can we have a splash screen that says? Can we have a splash screen that says "Old man rants about 2 technology"?
I used to be able to have my Nokia phone in my pocket and I could write Shakespeare without even looking at my screen. Now I'm trying to write, yes, that is an interesting point, and it takes me 15 revisions to finish the damn thing. Autocomplete.
Why are you writing Shakespeare in your pocket? I mean, seriously.
Yeah, you're supposed to write that on your car display while you're driving. All right. So Polyglot had a good comment, and then was asking for comments. I think we should bring it up and talk about it. So is that Epic has a more robust engine and awesome game built with the engine, and that with half the number of employees. Any comments?
Yeah, they did great job building Fortnite, and copying from PUBG the style of the game. What was another good decision at the time. And this is we talked about it. Yeah, Unity should create a game and use their own engine. The Epic is using their own engine. They're building tools for Fortnite, and then they're moving them back to Unreal Engine. Is very good thing, but if you use Unreal Engine a lot, there's still problems in them. There's still bugs in them, the same as in Unity. So this thing doesn't change. Is it for me? Is it, how to call it? Is it? Does it have less bugs with each version than Unity? Yeah, but it's because they use it on real stuff and they have developers using it for real games. And for this game, brought them so much money that they can have half of the number of employees and don't have to have employees doing other things to get money to that company.
Yeah, they definitely did great with Fortnite and blown it up. But I think one of the things Jason kind of talked about too earlier is using the right tool too. I think this kind of reminds me back of when I started using Unity. So when I was using Unity initially, before that I was working in Unreal, working on MMO stuff, and we were looking at. I was talking to a friend who's starting up a company building mobile games for the first iPhone, right? And we're looking at the options for what can we do, and obviously Unreal would have been like my default choice because I was using it regularly, but it didn't have support for the iPhone at first. And the first one that was an actual game engine that supported the iPhone was, can I get my words out? Unity. So that's why we kind of dove into it first and started trying it out, and it happened to use C# and just worked really well, allowed us to deploy out to all of the different platforms. And that was kind of why we used it. I think that if I still am kind of a strong believer that like if you're building a realistic first person shooter, or like basically if you're building a first person shooter, you should definitely look at Unreal, because it is built for first person shooters. Like from the ground up, you can make a first person shooter that looks great, performs great, and it's kind of for that. If you're looking at any other kind of game though, evaluate your options, because I mean there's some really cool stuff in Unreal, but it's also not, there's some, at least the last time I was heavily into it, there's some pain points in the workflow too that were kind of alleviated by Unity that I really like. So yeah,
like 100%. It's the right tool for the right job, right? Like a lot of people forget because it doesn't come up in conversation very often. But I've said this many times before. My first engine was actually Flash back when it was Macromedia Flash 8, and then my second engine was UDK, which was the parallel version of UE3. Which was because UE3 was at the time, this is when you had to pay between 3 and 20,000 to use a game engine. There wasn't such thing as free game engines. It was cost you a lot of money to begin the process. And so there was UDK. And UDK is an engine that was saying, hey, learn on our engine before you can get into the industry and use the real thing. So yeah, my first engine was Unreal. Back when it was Kismet, not Blueprints, by the way. And so I used, the problem was that getting from there to working with it in industry it's a big ordeal. It had a lot of tools, it was very powerful, but it was the kind of thing where you needed to really get into the right place for the right industry. Unity, you can open and make a game with. The landscape has changed a lot, but a lot of stuff comes from where your experience came from. And right now, I've been using Unity for as long as I have with the stuff I've been doing, that it's now easier for me to work with the tools that I have. Like it isn't, people look at it now as if I was to just start doing games now and go, why'd you pick this engine over this? And it's like, well, it's not that simple. People build on life experience and things they've learned. Now I'm way more comfortable in Unity than I am in Unreal. If I was tasked with making a first person shooter, like you said, I would jump to Unreal because I think the tooling there would make my life easier. But as it stands, the kinds of projects I do, the experience I had, I'm going to stick with the tools that match the experience and the stuff that needs doing.
Yeah, I think it makes sense for all of us. So let's see. Martin said, thanks for the update. Will Unity finally focus on fixing existing features instead of creating new stuff and abandoning others? I have no idea.
Yeah,
I assume
this is one of
that's
those this is one of those super magic 8-ball questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that so far lately with the recent changes, I've been pretty happy, but I've been heavily focused on the multiplayer stuff, the netcode for game object side, and all their dedicated server stuff. I'm very happy with where that's gone compared to what was the old one? What was the old one called? UNet, yeah, the one that died, the one that they killed, yeah. Compared to UNet, like it is drastically better. It's getting good. The one thing I would really love for them to fix though is all of the documentation. I don't know if you guys have run into this problem, but with like, for instance, the multiplayer documentation, almost everything goes to a 404, and then you got to go find the new version of the link. Like you click on a component in the editor and click on the help thing, and you get a 404. You go to the samples and yeah, there's a lot of missing docs. I think it's part of the whole thing where they rearranged and changed their documentation system. They went away from the Unity Answers thing and did whatever the new thing is. But it's shitloads of broken links. But other than that, like on the tech side, I've been relatively happy with stuff, but I've also been in that bubble. Have you guys seen, like, are there big kind of missing things or stuff that you would want them to fix right now? I mean, Pal,
if only your eye was there, you know.
Tell me how awesome the render pipeline stuff is, Pal.
So Jason, how much time do we still have left?
Not enough for that.
We got about an hour.
I think it would be enough. Yeah, that's a lot and lots of stuff that's not changing. Terrain system was 10 years well gone. They're changing very slowly. The rendering pipelines should be one rendering pipeline, not 3 different ones. What more? constant changes in a shader graph, constant changes in shaded backends in Unity. For example, we were sitting yesterday till 1 a.m. our time working on because Unity in LT 2022.3.LTS.9 shaders work on 2022.3.LTS.10. They stopped working. All other custom shaders just stopped working because they changed a few things in the shader graph, and they changed parts to some of the libraries in the project. So LTS versions don't have stability that you can just move from one version to another.
Interesting. They added a break. Is that breaking change in an attempt to fix some other broken thing or something? Or
No, everything worked before this change.
oh,
So
okay, it's just
yeah.
They weren't fixing anything with it. I wonder why that's happening. That's
That's happening because they have packages. So when they change some version, they changing version of packages sometimes. If they change version of package, the packages team changes updates stuff and doesn't look that it's LTS version of package.
So hot tech. I don't know if I'm the only one here. I have a VS Code a text file saved on my computer, which is just a list of package with the version numbers that I know I've used and liked before. Because every so often, I just want to grab like JSON.NET, and I don't want to mess with whatever Unity has tried to do with some random installed version. So yeah, sometimes I just keep track of the versions I know I like for stuff. So yeah, that happens.
That's funny. All right, so 2L. First, thanks for all those memberships. Gifted 10 memberships earlier. It's awesome. The super chat said it's us versus platforms 30%, not us versus Unity 2.5%. We have to take back the fees they take. I'd rather use Stripe or Zoila to offset that fee.
I really wish this opened up that conversation more. I don't think it will. I think this will move on, but I was very disappointed that didn't get brought in more. And I'm just going to say it again. This probably gets me in trouble, but if you were to say someone had never heard of fees or prices or video games or whatever, and you said these are the parties involved in the process of a game, person who makes it, tool it's built on, the people who market it for you, and then the place you buy it from. Which percent goes to who? And if I was to tell you the answer is the shelf gets 30%, you would lose your mind. But yet, every time I've seen people discuss this topic, they go, okay, so, Steam gets 30%, and then they start their breakdowns, right? It's like, why do we just take that as like a given, right? That shouldn't be the accepted bypass.
But those stores have to store that data and then distribute it to all those people. And that's a very hard job, and it can't be automated. There are several people in the background with cranks whining away every time somebody makes a purchase to make it go down. You have to pay those people on those cranks.
True.
Oh
yeah. So I just mean we can have a big conversation about Unity, their fees versus Unreal's fee, all these fees we like, but if you're being practical and you step back and go, right, let's look at the numbers for a person making a game. How viable is it for a person to make and sell a game? And the answer is it's pretty damn hard. For many, many reasons, it's pretty damn hard to successfully sell a game. And if you were to go and start to fight through the various reasons why that is, honestly, this isn't the highest end of the spectrum of why you won't succeed at selling your game. It is an issue, but it's not the number 1 or 2 or 3 or probably even 4 or 5th issue. And I think there's a lot more conversations to be had about making this a viable industry. And I just don't think we're going to have those conversations. So.
It did start to see like it was going to come to a head with the whole Epic Apple thing, but then that kind
That's what I thought.
Disappeared off by the wayside. So,
yeah, I thought maybe something was going to happen and those percentages were going to start to come down or something. But I feel like that's probably not going to happen unless the government decides to get involved.
Well, I keep thinking the European Union is going to step in and just start stamping on people, but still doesn't, because they like to do that. So,
yeah. I go, not only can you only charge 15%, but you have to include a USB cable.
USB-C cable.
Oh, is it? Okay, USB-C cable, fine. Upgrade.
Until Apple pays their money, and then everybody's on a lightning cable from now on.
Yeah. Everybody will have to switch. Android's going to have to switch over.
Yeah,
I also wish it wasn't such a blatant first world problem, but I have literally 2 items that require a unique Apple cable. Every single other device in my entire life is USB-C, and it's infuriating. And somehow, despite only having 2 items, I still frequently lose those 2 cables because I'm an idiot. I just really wish I could just do what I normally do and grab the nearest cable and use that.
Just kind of like tape it to the back of the iPad. It's funny. The only iPad I have actually has USB-C. I'm still not sure why. It was one that they accidentally sent me the wrong iPad, but it's got USB-C on it. So, okay. All right. So,
Any more questions on the whole Unity debacle?
oh, that was not for us. I don't know. I haven't seen it. Let's see. Is the discount on the... Oh, that's something I don't know about. The discount on the runtime fee that they offer beyond the editor blatantly anti-competitive, or is it? Would you say that to someone who thinks that? So this is there was that whole thing about giving a discount or removing the runtime fee for people using their ad network. I haven't seen any updates or mentions about that, but I wonder, do you guys think that that's...
But if you're saying that, you also have to say, would the waived fees for the Unreal stuff also be an issue?
Yeah, that's what I wonder. Yeah. What's up, Pal?
That's info in frequently asked questions.
Oh, there is?
Yeah.
As everybody flips over back to that page and
Gotta go find it real quick.
gets hit with a ton of downloads again.
It's at top in a Unity runtime fee, one of the top one on the right side. Can I get a discount or a custom deal on the Unity runtime?
Right here. Yeah, developers adopting services beyond the editor, like the hosting, which is actually pretty cool. VVox or Level Play, that's their ad service, or other cloud services, could be eligible for credits for the runtime fees. Yeah, and then they're doing, it looks like, custom deals for that. I wonder if the custom deals makes it less of a problem. I have no idea if that's a legal issue or not. I'm far from a lawyer. I don't know crap about the law.
They're not the only company doing that sort of thing, though. So, I think Story just brought up the whole Unreal gives you discounts.
Yeah, Unreal gives you a discount if you use if you publish on their launcher too. So I wonder if it counts or if it's slightly different. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I'm sure we'll all find out from actual lawyers. I'll go watch like a lawyer channel on YouTube. That's what you should do, is get a lawyer guy from a lawyer YouTube channel to come on and just talk about stuff sometimes.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure there's been a few lawyer channels hitting on this one.
Yeah. It'd be an interesting one.
It would be interesting. There's a conference in Poland in 3 weeks, Game Industry Conference, and that's Legal Summit. The first day is about legal matters with lawyers. And they announced that one of the most important topics there will be Unity and tosses in different engines.
Oh. I can't
they
say I'm...
changed one entire track of talks to these matters.
I'm not surprised at all. So Dave, I think you're going to have some thoughts on this one. The super chat from Seppa came in and said, I use Unity for broadcast graphic solutions at a corporate level. Sound like anyone you know? So install counts wouldn't affect me anyways. I want to give Unity a chance to compete with Unreal in the broadcast TV graphics usage and mess with the market. And I mean, when you were doing more production-y stuff, these fees wouldn't have even hit you, right? Because you're nowhere near the install count. You're doing it on like a couple computers at the Super Bowl or something. Right?
Yeah, you need to also look into whether you should be on an industry license. There's a lot of changes to the licensing around that since when I did it. And for people out there that don't know, I built the real-time broadcasting and compositing solution for the NFL that went up on the Super Bowl. It's on Lollapalooza, and it went to most of the big sporting events across the country. That was a different licensing affair to the licensing that's up there now. If you're doing that sort of thing, then give Unity a call and see what license you fall into as far as that's concerned.
I think it's a different license. It's not the base ones. You have to be on industrial, some custom license from Unity. From what I remember from TOS. And
it might not be. They might turn around and say, no, you're fine on the Pro or Enterprise.
Yeah, but that's custom info from them, yeah.
You need to speak to them on that one.
Cool. Real quick, I just wanted to remind everybody in about, 72 minutes to go live with Mark Whitten, and he's going to be answering a bunch of these questions that people have had, all the stuff that a lot of us don't know the answer to, and that people have been kind of trying to figure out. So if you're interested in that, just be ready in whatever 70-something minutes. I just told all the people over there that we're over here too. Then come join us for a little bit longer while we're still live.
Yeah.
I also I just wanted to get this one small thing as well because I'm trying to be get deep breath. There's a lot of comments about people saying regarding people wanting to hide the Unity Splash logo because it's some sort of scarlet letter or something. But as someone who makes a lot of Unity projects that never see the light of day to the average consumer, I don't think people realize how many software installs, museum installation, touchscreen apps. There's so many there's so many different things. I can't even go into the whole internal things or trade show demos or whatever, where people want to do a thing to advertise their product and they don't want Unity splashed on the front of the thing for their client or their product, right? So. Yeah. It's a very reasonable thing for people who are making small things that never even see the light of day to want to remove the Unity logo, not because they're afraid of Unity. They legitimately want to just use the thing and market it as they made it, not made by something else.
No, I totally understand. And I feel like for some of those people, it just confuses them too. Like the customer in that contracting scenario that you're giving it to, they're like, what's Unity? And then they start asking a whole bunch of weird questions about that. Like, totally unrelated. Yeah. Pop up the correct tab. So this is the FAQ tab. Now there was a part about that Powell mentioned too, the non-gaming. Let me find that, because the runtime fee doesn't apply to them, but like he said, that industry license does. It says, yeah, the Unity runtime fee does not apply to film, gambling, or education subscription plans at this time. Runtime fee does not apply to industry customers on a Unity industry subscription plan. Industry customers who have questions about the fee or deploying and monetizing should contact their account manager or sales. Yeah, so it doesn't apply here, which is kind of what I expected too. Right? It wouldn't make a lot of sense to do an install fee on something that you're going to put a couple installs out there for. See if there's any other big questions in chat. Fix the UI tool. Quick question. Any of you guys using the new UI system yet, or you still use the old one?
In parts.
I still never use it.
I'm still got to release a video on it. I know people have been asking for me to do a video on the UI tool and all the rest of it on my channel. I will get around to it eventually. At the moment, I'm still just going through all my libraries of tools and popping those up, and those using the old UI system. So it will come. But there's overlays and stuff on there.
I really want to. Like, legitimately, I know I should. I know it's something I want to do, but I've just been using the other one for so long. I know it so well. I have a workflow and system in place. It's not detrimental in terms of performance for me just yet. It's much worse, but it's not bad enough for me to need to change. So it will happen, and at some stage in the future, it'll be my only choice. Like with the new input system, I've now officially switched over to the new input system, but I haven't got there with UI yet. It's just too much to learn, and this is even from someone who's done web dev, and I've also done the previous stuff with WPF and whatever. Like, I'm familiar with the systems, but even with that, it's still just more kludge and work to get a very basic stuff out of the way.
Yeah. I'm also web developer for several years, and I still don't use UI toolkit. The workflow is such a pain to create anything, and getting good information from it other than forum is also problematic. Yeah, so it changes pipeline so much that I don't see it gaining track quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I've used it, and I use it in some projects at the moment. It's fine for me. For me, I think the input system came first because it was much more, I needed that new input system, whereas I don't need that new UI system in everything. So that came a little bit later on. But the input system just had to be changed. It was just.
And see, I was the other way around. I was like locked into Rewired for years. I didn't need the new input system because, let's be real, the new input system is just rebranded Rewired. It's got a couple of changes.
Oh yeah.
But fundamentally, it's just Rewired, redone. So if you were fully locked in onto that, you didn't need the new input system. But now that it's there, I use it because it's both there, and also it means when I give tutorials or guides or something, I can just use the native thing, which is much easier.
Yeah, and they've improved that one a lot too. And I still feel like it needs a little bit, but yeah, it's a lot easier to get into. Unlike the UI one, I still don't touch it.
I will say I truly believe the new input system is like production ready, and like I'm very cautious with that phrase. I say that almost every feature in Unity. I'm still like not production ready, but legitimately I think the input system for at least a year now has been production ready.
I hope so, because I've put it in production. It's out there live on a lot of things that I've built, so it better be.
Yeah.
So Maths Plus Games asked the question, I must miss the earlier parts, but if we subscribe to the 2.5% rev share, can we remove the malware that tracks downloads? Anybody know the answer to that question? In chat?
To be truthful,
Go ahead.
if they include anything that tracks downloads, they should inform you because you have to put it into your game stores. That's the most funny thing, because if you don't have this kind of information and your game is tracking someone, you don't put it into your terms of service.
Your
then you're
EULA
in a
gets
lot of
broken,
trouble.
all of a sudden you're in the hook, and then there's a whole lot of legal issues downstream.
Yeah, so if they added something that's tracking and they don't inform us about it, there will be lots of legal issues with especially in Europe.
Yeah, but yeah, there's no tracking. From what I understand, there never was any tracking. It's just 100% self-reported. I'm very curious where the phrase, what did it say? The proprietary algorithm. Like, where did that come from, and why did that pop into the messaging?
That just made it so much worse. Everything. It was already so bad, and then to put that statement out, you just like you could just see developers all over the world just slapping their palms against their heads when they said that. You're just like, no, you're not. That's not going to happen.
That was the wrong phrasing there. I feel like
on the plus side, at least now that they have a financial model that'll earn the money, they might be able to hire a marketing team, so this won't happen again. My God!
I'm sure that just got mixed up somewhere in the talks along the way.
That was a joke, by the way. Just to be clear, it was a joke.
And I really want to know if they have solved the privacy issue. I want that software. I want to know if my game's pirated. If they've solved it, give it to me, because I want it. You haven't solved it. No one solved it. But if they have, I want it. If that funny alien orb-looking thing from their AI thing can now tell me if something's pirated just by talking to somebody, then I want it.
All right, I'm going to try to read this one out. I was losing the words trying to read it in my head, though. Then, should they have a Hall of Fame monthly with consent of devs whose games are on their website with free ads for dev and more money win-win for them both? Oh, okay. They're saying they should have a Hall of Fame of the games that are actually big on there with free ads on. Yeah, I mean, I feel like Unity kind of tries to do this already, where they do the made with Unity promotions and they'll start pushing things. I don't know if they do it with like the really big ones though, because they don't need or care so much about the marketing. I don't know. They did used to do it. I mean, I've won an award for Unity for a game I released, and they used to do this on a monthly basis where you would get awards for basically building great games using the Unity engine. It was a great thing. I loved it. Well, yeah, of course I did. I won one, but they should bring it back. I mean, they do the showcase every year, and they've got their new channel that they're promoting where they bring developers on and talk about their games on the Unity channel and go through it, which is great. And some of the insights from that have been really good. If you're not subscribed to the Unity channel to get that, go and watch it, not for the whole Unity thing, just to listen to those developers talk about their process of developing their games. It's interesting. Playthroughs is a great thing to see as a developer. But they could do more. They could always do more to showcase the great games that are out there for it. But they are doing stuff. Yeah, I agree. Definitely go check out Hassan's streams and watch those ones. The dev, I think they're like Dev Diaries or something similar on the name. They're like every week, and they're really good, and get to see the actual problems that they ran into, and they talk through like the whole thing. It's very cool. There was another question that popped up, and I scrolled away from it. Where did it go? What was it? Oh, how do you self-report number of installs as a dev? I know sales, but not installs. That's what they're looking for. You just look at like your Steam numbers and the number of sales that you had. If your game's not free to play, you just give them that number, from what I understand. What if somebody buys it, never install it? Yeah, if they buy it and never install it, I think it still kind of counts. It's just going to go off of whatever your numbers are for people acquiring your game, however they get it. If it's a free download or buy, it's an engagement now, not an install. Yeah, which I think The install. The problem with install is there's uninstalls, and it confuses the crap out of people. What happens if I self-report a negative install count? Well, assuming that the coders are junior developers, then Unity starts paying you money, is my guess. It overflows to the 2.6 billion or whatever, and then Unity writes you a big check.
I don't know. I've seen some of Johnny's math, and it might not be too far from the truth. I'm joking, Johnny. I love your math.
That's funny. I was actually talking to my 15-year-old about that a couple weeks ago. We're talking about exploits in video games and trusting the client. And one of the examples I was talking to him about was all of the different things that you could put negative numbers into in MMOs back in the day to just flip stuff over. Trades, bank accounts, all that kind of stuff. Just all of the non-checking and trusting the client stuff that happens. So yeah, hopefully it's the same though, Johnny, and you just put in a negative number and get a big fat check. Right? They'll write you a bill for a negative amount, and
then they'll be chasing you for it back.
So you'll get a random call like, excuse me, Mr. Johnny, infinite money glitch, IRL. It'd be like my buddy who I remember when we were in high school wanted to watch the lottery numbers while I was at the store because I had a cell phone when cell phones were new. Well, I had my mom's cell phone when cell phones were new. And he was convinced that with that, we could just buy a ticket and become millionaires because now we had access to a cell phone. So you could be at the store and buy a ticket right when the numbers come up. Yeah, they fixed that one. So you have to do the negative sales now instead. All right, let's see. What else we got here? Tried to deposit negative 20 into an ATM. Once it didn't work. That would be an interesting one. Put a minus on the ATM. Let's see if there's anything else. Ooh, I don't. Go ahead. There's a question I don't know the answer to, but what would you have?
No. Go.
So Tidor asked, does the fee apply to apps that distribute the runtime through Unity as a library, like apps that the runtime can be a much smaller part of the app compared to where Unity is the whole thing? My guess is that probably is going to be under one of those other licenses, like the industry one or something else. But what do you guys think? Do you know? Is this all like under the industry license type thing if you're doing that, or does it depend on the type of app that you're building?
It depends what is it. Is it a game created in other thing and Unity is just rendered? Or is it a project that uses Unity as a window inside, I don't know, a .NET application because you can do stuff like that?
Because you can like render your airplane or whatever thing it is, or like in a web page, or
yeah. Then it's industry, and you have to contact Unity, which can tell you what kind of license you need to have.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, and then it's still only assuming that you pass the $200,000 mark, I think.
Yeah, because even if you have industry project, Unity can just tell you, no, you're a small company, just use Personal, just use Pro. I worked with big company on projects for using Unity, not for space industry. We just use Pro licenses because that's what Unity sales team told us to use.
Makes sense.
It depends on the industry, depends on the company and what you are doing.
And then Jeff said he used to crash Commodore BBS systems by typing 99E99 into a field that accepted a number. I don't know why that worked, but I used to use Commodore BBS systems all the time, so it interested me.
There is a sea of things like that can happen, which is down to the Unicode letters provided. If you provide characters that can't be rendered, it'll often crap out a lot of older systems because you had to expressly state which character collection you could support. And so if you typed in characters that weren't supported, the entire system would go, I don't know how to render this. And if you didn't capture those events, it would crap out the entire system.
Yeah, I had a very angry developer once on our team who was from Ireland, who was really annoyed that we didn't have special characters in one of the naming systems. And he went, well, that's not my name. So, okay.
We used to have that issue in database stuff too, where you would strip any unknown characters from names when you put them in a database for storage.
Mhm.
But a lot of names have those characters, like you'd have fadas or whatever on the names, and so you would do it for simplicity. But like when you're talking about a banking system, you can't just remove a part of a person's name just to make it easier to fit in the database, right? So there's a lot of these really interesting edge cases where they actually have to make a column for modifications on the name to be applied before and after rendering, just to make sure that you retain the details.
Yeah.
Dom had a question for Story. If Unity is going to lift the embargo on your YouTube channel so you can finally upload again.
Hey, I want to be clear. Not only does Unity not have an embargo on my channel, Unity haven't even given me so much as a high five, let alone any money or any backing or anything. So as far as I'm concerned, no. I'll make something eventually. I don't know if you can even see. I've been coughing up a lung here in the background whenever my mic's muted. I'm a little bit busy with work stuff. I'm not done with YouTube. I will intend to make stuff eventually, but I'm not going to make any promises. I've learned a valuable lesson about not saying stuff without having the right words recently. So I don't know the answer just yet.
Sometime, huh? Sometime I'm sure they'll let you do videos eventually.
He's run out of interesting topics. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You just keep
You already talked about
I
everything?
used to be the guy to do all of the unique, weird Unity stuff, and then you started doing them, and I'm like, well, what do I do now? What's my brand? I don't have one.
I had a video out before you did.
No, you did not. My video was before yours.
Uh-oh. Brawl. How do I put this into brawl mode? Is there like a battle mode where you guys go side by side?
And his versus comes up in the middle of the screen. Did you? Shit, I just wasn't subscribed then. That's even more of a burn.
I mean, I'll be honest. You definitely produce more than I do, but I still think.
But I have a brain fart and then produce a video and then chuck it up on the actual on YouTube.
All right, let's see if there's any other questions. I feel like we'd probably take a little break before the stream, but chat for a little while longer. Oh, $20 on the guy with the glasses. All right. All right, I got $20 against him.
Okay, I'll put 20 on the guy with the headphones.
Oh.
It's all about the beard. It's all about the beard.
Apparently, Alan is happy with his decision to stop making just Unity specific stuff, which I actually used quite a bit of. I remember when I was starting with Unity, like I used to go through Alan's stuff a lot. I mean, I still occasionally do. So I can understand that, though, just kind of branching out and stuff. When Unity wants to make more money in the future, what does it say? How would you go about around updating its pricing model if you were in charge? Oh, I don't know. So if you were going to make another change to make this generate more money somehow, or do some other change to generate more money, what would you do? Would you open up a new like publishing store? Be like Epic?
For me, it's services every time. Like
Services.
A lot of people don't realize the larger your project gets, the more stuff you have to think about. You have to start dealing with a lot of bug reports. You have to start dealing with lots of people. You have to start dealing with the analytics for your A/B testing. You have to start managing build dev cycles. You have to make sure you have different branches if you're doing feature testing for multiple. Like as your project scales, it goes from just being I'll push to git lol to like there is a pipeline needed to retain expectations on these kinds of projects. And so I think Unity already know this, and so they're trying to lean into selling you the services. They want a model where rather than relying on your success broadly, they would rather you pay to continue being engaged in the process. Your success is up to you, but they just want a consistent relationship with your product. And that makes sense for them. And for me, it makes sense to have someone handle the messy stuff, which is often a pain in the ass to do. So that's what I would do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Don't tell anyone, just make the price changes.
Yeah, just change it and start sending the new bill.
The less you do a public announcement, the less you're going to get feedback on it. So just make the changes and go with it. That's not actually a real answer. That's English sarcasm for a lot of people that can't get that. But
Yeah.
before I get the hate mail.
All right, there were a couple questions I started earlier. I forgot to pop up on a grab real quick. So this one was about, was Windows Phone or HoloLens more disappointing? They're having flashbacks to, I think, the HoloLens game jam, or one of them. I would say,
I'm sorry, it was absolutely terrible. I remember the first time I put it on feeling like a fighter pilot going, this is awesome. And I look at this like blinking, looks like your phone's out of battery, flashing little screen. I'm like, I feel sad now. Like, I legitimately feel sad having put this on my head. I'm sorry. That whole thing was disappointing.
Yeah.
I have a wonderful story around this, and it involves me and Jason Weimann and a couple of others going to a game jam. Because for those that don't know, me and Jason actually met doing game jams, and that's how we became friends. And we've realized we worked at the same company doing the same job for ages, but in different countries. But we went to the game jam for the Windows HoloLens with an idea to build a product. We ended up sitting outside eating the pizza that they provided, going, we can't do this on this headset.
Yeah, we overestimated what we were going to be able to do with it and what it was capable of, and it was. That's why I'm excited about the Apple one, because I want to get that same feeling of being overexcited about it and then completely let down when I actually try it out, and when I actually get in there and start developing with it. But yeah,
but
I like the Windows Phone personally.
But in the case of Apple, you won't have some poor Microsoft employee coming out to you and going, are you guys going to actually do anything on this today? And us turning around and going, look, it won't do what we want it to do. We're trying to think of some really
you'll get that experience.
That we can do on it.
If you can go back in time to like the peak of VR stuff, you'll get that every single week. Some new headset will arrive on your door, and you'll get an email every 2 weeks from one of the companies going, "So, do you want to use our product? We've got an SDK." Like, I'm sorry, I can't just all of these different random headsets with like miscellaneous feature sets.
What was it recently? I got an email from HTC saying, you haven't bought our new headset. Here's an encouragement for you. We'll give you a free cable with it. I double took. I was like, the cable doesn't come with it. Like, how does this work? But yeah, the enticement was they're going to give me a free cable. Like,
and you didn't go for it.
I didn't go for it. Funnily enough, I've already got 14 headsets.
Reminds me, you don't happen to have any 3.0 trackers laying around spare, do you?
Not spare, no. Who has spare 3.0
My kid's
trackers?
trying to buy a couple. I just want to make sure nobody's got some just laying in their garage they're going to throw away. I have a bunch of 1s and 2s, but no 3s. So
yeah, I've got a lot of the old ones, but I haven't got. I was really disappointed when I found out you couldn't use them both together.
Yeah,
like you couldn't have 3s and 1s at the same time, or 3s and 2s at the same time. You had to just use the latest ones and not have them, because I really wanted to build a much bigger environment. But that's a story for another day.
Yeah, I'm with you there. So there were a couple other questions. Oh, but I also want to say I really did like my Windows Phone. Like, as much as it was kind of shitty, it had some problems. The not having copy and paste on day one is the stupidest thing I'd ever heard of. But I really liked the interface and the tiles. Like, I was actually able to look at it and get info without having to click and open any apps for a lot of stuff. I could see my latest emails and texts and stuff just by quickly glancing at it. And I missed that thing. That was one of the few things I was sad to see go, although it never really took off and got good either. The app still kind of sucked. Like, the app market was crap.
It got really hot as well.
Yeah.
Right, that's the one thing I remember. When I'd done that deal with Microsoft, it was a case of, right, you're going to build better looking games, because they wanted really good looking games on the Windows Phone. And we started doing that, and oh boy, did that thing heat up. And I remember chatting to one of them and saying, have you tried like rendering something on this that's a little bit more powerful? Yeah, it's an interesting conversation. Is this going to burn me?
Apparently Thomas is here. Hello, Thomas. I'm going to get you the link so you can hop in sometime. If you don't have it already. Maybe you already got it and just hop on in. Developer said, when is the Godot tutorial coming out? I have absolutely no intentions of switching engines or switching over to Godot stuff. I mean, here's the thing. I could learn Godot stuff and go make tutorials on them and teach people some of that stuff, but it wouldn't be like great Godot content, because I don't have a decade of experience with Godot. It's like it'd be very new stuff, and it would be relatively, I think, low quality content. It would be no better than anybody else's Godot stuff. Unity stuff I still know heavily, and I've been working a lot on the multiplayer stuff. So all of my upcoming, or most of my upcoming content is actually going to be on the Unity multiplayer stuff, building multiplayer games, peer-to-peer and dedicated server stuff. It's kind of what I spent a lot of my career doing, building MMOs and multiplayer games. And now that they actually have a good stack, I feel like it's time to do that. So that's where I'm going to focus. I mean, I feel like a lot of people are going to make Godot and Unreal videos anyway, so it'll be a ridiculous amount of that stuff available. I'm just going to focus on the stuff that I actually like doing.
I must actually,
now that it's easy.
I'm going to just just hijack the conversation a little bit there, because I actually have an interesting question about that myself, which is I was thinking about this too, and I'm looking at the landscape of stuff, and there are people doing all of these guide tutorials per engine, per platform with different stuff, people who are focused on the networking side. There is all of this stuff, but I'm really not seeing much on game design or sound design, just broadly.
Yeah.
There's unique channels where people will take existing projects and might have on the entire channel about something else a 40-minute video where they talk about their game's audio. But I've not seen people in a game engine discuss vertical integration with audio or horizontal integration, or talk about affordance design for levels, or even just post-processing beyond just press post-processing button, but explaining what effects ambient occlusion has, or why you should be using, different color grading, or what ACES does visually, and what's a LUT, and how would you customize LUTs. And I was thinking that while I probably don't think I also, for very similar reasons, would ever just like jump engine or like make content on something else, it does seem like it would be interesting to make content around this more broad engine agnostic concepts. Like, well, how do you make a game good? How do you solve these problems? Because I think that might be more useful. So I have been noodling in that direction. If I have time, I'm thinking that's where I might pivot my own content.
Well, the funny thing is, I was very surprised when I started to release my channel and I started to put tooling tutorials on there, and loads of people came and said there are no channels just doing tooling videos. Like, everybody does the basics of how to build a basic game in very basic terms, but nobody goes through how to do professional tools and build tools to do this function and all the rest. There are big niches out there, like you said, that nobody's covering at the moment, and part of that might be because those people are really bloody busy doing their jobs. But there you go.
Yeah, I think the design thing would be interesting because, like I said, not a lot of people talk about it. And it's one of the things that I feel like you actually have a very strong understanding of. It's one of the reasons I would never talk about it, because I feel like I'm terrible at game design. I can write the code and make stuff move and do the things it needs to do, but making it fun it's when I call Salim and I'm like, hey, can you make this not suck and make it pretty and fun? And he starts adding all these cool enemies and adding a bunch of random shit. I'm like, oh yeah, this is much, much better.
Yeah.
Oh, question. Will Unity anytime soon continue working on Gagaia? I'm sure they're not going to. My guess is that is totally in the trash right now. I don't know for sure, but I said I'm sure, but I would guess it's probably just it's a gone project.
Especially that most of the team,
Go ahead.
Especially as most of the team is, I think, out of Unity. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think they laid off most of that team, and then absorbed some of them in. So yeah, I don't see that as likely. I think that was just one of their experiments that they had some ideas on, and I don't know if the plan changed partway through or what, but it ended up not being what.
Here's me dangerously falling into another spicy take territory, but I don't think they should. I don't think that's very valuable to them or to us. What I think is much more valuable is people talk about, like we talked before, everyone wants Unity to make a game. Let's be real. Everyone everywhere wants Unity to just make a game. But for a million different reasons, it's very easy to say that as like a hand wave statement, but it's a bit harder than that. It's not as straightforward. But that being said, even when Valve decided to stop making games semi-regularly, even what they did back in the day, they would go to colleges and campuses and find games. A lot of people don't realize this, but games like Portal, they didn't make that in-house. It was a game made by students that they saw. They went and was like, this is cool. These guys know what they're doing. It's ugly as hell, but we have artists. We have all the cool bits that these guys are missing. And they in-house the people, hired the students and hired the team, and then made a game out of it. And so long story short, my suggestion, I truly believe what Unity should do is start doing something similar. Have rather than having to like build an entire in-house game studio, either find a small to medium indie studio who's producing good stuff with Unity and give them their backing officially and make it an official Unity-esque type game, and then start to build up this mentality of having Unity internal game stuff. And then basically, if they do well, hire the damn team and then have your Unity in-house team that have proven themselves to make it. Because it has to be beneficial to both parties. But I do think Unity need to have an arm that is a game dev group.
Oh yeah, no, I still think it would be good to have, and not a huge team in there, but maybe like somewhere between like 10 and 20 person team developing an actual real good game. And maybe scale it up for art at the end or whatever. But yeah, I think that would be ideal. I think Dave should build it.
Yeah, I agree. I think Unity should pay me to build a game studio for them and do it. I am open to those conversations if they want to.
If there's anybody I would recommend out of the people that I know, it's you. And I'm sure there are other people that could do it, but
Yeah.
You
I don't know
are
them
so
personally.
kind, and I will give you your money for saying that later.
Well, thank you very much. All right. Let's see, and take a couple more questions, and then we're gonna wrap stuff up and get ready for the live stream with Mark. Let me just really quickly share that again and drop it into chat. So if you want to see the answers on all the stuff from actual Unity, or from Mark Whitten from Unity, we'll be live in about 40 minutes going over all of the biggest questions everybody's had and trying to get some of the best answers we possibly can, clarify all this stuff, and just kind of talk it all through. This should be super interesting for anybody that's into this. Can you ask Mark if this is permanent? Can you clarify by what you mean by permanent, Thomas?
Probably talking about whether the TOS can change again. or
The
whether it's
TOS
not.
retroactive stuff. Yeah, that
That's
would
what
make
I
sense.
assume.
Yeah, I think that'll be one of the many topics we'll dive into. I feel like developers need another secure with. Yeah, I agree. So yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about that, about what changes, possible changes, and all that other stuff. Dave for CEO. Being CEO of a
there's so
company,
many
like it
people
was
that-
an actual company, a big one, sounds like a nightmare. No offense. I would hate that job.
Wow.
I don't mind being CEO of a company where like I'm my only employee, but yeah, being CEO of a big company sounds like a.
It comes with different responsibilities and things and stuff you need to do. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I've never been CEO of a company as big as Unity, by the way.
Oh, well, who really?
It's funny that. I don't know why I have to say that, but yeah, it's funny that.
If you
done
had,
some
we
fairly
might have led with that.
yeah, I feel like I've done a few good companies, but I've never done a big company. And no, I haven't been ousted for one, and I'm covering it up before anybody pulls that.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So Scott's wondering what was it that drove them to come up with the new pricing model? I think that, and I don't know the details, but everybody's ad revenue is down. I know YouTube ad revenue is like a third of what it was last year for the same amount of views. So I assume that their ad revenue and all their other revenue is down, and they're working on ways to increase that. Is like, it seems like the de facto obvious reason that they'd be doing it. There could be more to it, but I don't know. It said the TOS are now tied to the editor version going forward. And yep, that is what I read as well. And then, I just saw saw Freya's tweet. Can we get a 2.5% share on their asset store too? 30% looking real steep. Yeah. Oh, you can't even see it. It's off on the top. All you see is Powell's response. Bam. There you go, Freya. With the heart. I'm going to guess that that's probably not going to happen. Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Any other questions here? Can we acknowledge how this debacle brought so many people and devs together? This is the most packed dev show yet, with heavy hitter comments from game dev influencers. Yeah, I know. I mean, I think that everybody pretty much agreed on the changes. I didn't talk to anybody who thought that the initial changes were good, that they weren't going to be a big problem. I think the biggest difference I saw in people was whether or not they were waiting to see what Unity was going to do. When I first saw it, I thought like, this is definitely going to change. I didn't know it was going to change this much. I didn't think they were going to remove the retroactive stuff and cap it so low. But I was positive that it was going to change. It seemed kind of obvious that like some of those things were going to get too much pushback and definitely change. But I'm, I guess, glad to see that they made as many changes as they did, and hopefully have alleviated most of the fears. Let's see. Pop-ups. Okay, cool. So, watching Mike's chat in Slack real quick. So yeah, any other questions that you guys saw that you wanted to take, or are you going to take a little break and then come back and talk about this later?
So I just saw Mike's comment as well.
So, question: during these days of total silence, Unity has over-relied on influencers to effectively do damage control on their behalf. It feels manipulative on their side. Thoughts? I don't know that I've seen that. I mean, mostly they have not really, they haven't said anything, and most of the influencer stuff I've seen has been relatively negative about it. Like,
Yeah, I was going to say, if the influencers are doing damage control, then they should be fired for being damage control. 'Cause my God, they've done damage, not control. Let's be real here. Like, maybe rightfully so, but they have not done damage control for Unity at all. Let's be real.
Yeah, I haven't seen much damage control.
I think Freya did a lot of damage control. Yes, she was, I think, one of the people who was, but she's more asset storyteller than influencer. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think
she did great posts, trying to talk with community, trying to listen to them, and moved it to the Unity side. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think she had an idea that they were going to be fixing things and doing stuff, but probably couldn't talk too much about what it was. And I mean, I just avoid talking about it because, like, hey, until I can say something about what they're doing and any little bit of whatever stuff might be under NDA that I know, I don't want to talk about it. So make sure that I just shut up and wait and see what the final thing is. So I also didn't want to weigh in on the incomplete version of it, or the whatever wasn't going to be the final one, because I figured it was going to change again. Who's going to Unite? I know I'm going to be there. I don't know if Pal's going to be there. I'm gonna like drop by Ireland and pick you up on the way there. Like, hey,
if
get
you
up!
Pick me up, I'll go. I'll put it that way. If you
Put your clothes on. It's time to go. I had a friend do that to me once when I was a teenager. We're supposed to go to some. What was it? It was the Special Olympics. We were going to volunteer at the Special Olympics, and I was lazy and not waking up. And he banged on my door till I woke my ass up, and we went out there. And then he almost got arrested by the Air Force. It was fun. It was at the Air Force Base, and is a little bit wild teenager. Anyway,
I think Jason's story should go.
Yeah,
good for you.
Do. I agree.
Because you just have Jason Weimann poking him all the time for 2 days.
All right, real quick, one more thing that popped up. Tech Dave asked, what do you think will happen to sales in the asset store? Has Pal seen a drop in sales? I would expect a drop in sales for everybody recently, and hopefully those kind of pick back up. But what do you think, Pal? You think sales will kick back up soon?
I hope so, but we will see. We will see how people respond to this new announcement and what will happen to it.
Yeah.
I think the only thing you can say for certain is nobody saying calculates trends based on a week, right? You have to wait until there's more information, and we don't have that yet. So it's kind of pointless.
And it's very hard to calculate it during this year, because this year is also very weak compared to last few years.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a totally different economy. If you are interested, though, you can always go grab the Nature Manufacturer assets right there, and then there's also while you're at the asset store, go grab the free publisher asset there. They've got the stamps for height maps you can use without using Gaia from Procedural Worlds for free. And then I think all of their stuff half off. So you can go grab those. Where did my chat window go? I hate how the chat disappears to pop those up.
To be clear, one of the comments was about deprecated assets, audio, and models. If you're not aware, there's been an uptick on a lot of basically stolen art and audio being put on storefronts. So that's not deprecated out of spite. That is actually a good job at cleaning up when they're being called out. That, for example, there's a very famous sound effects pack that was pitch shifted up and then sold as a new product. So this stuff happens. So that's why a lot of those get deprecated.
Wait, they just pitch shifted it and then sold?
Yeah. Pitch shifted a relatively expensive, famous asset pack for sound effects. And let's just say recording a lion sound is not very easy for an indie dev who's producing assets for their pack. So if they've managed to find a collection of lion sounds, maybe they haven't like gone out and recorded them themselves, you know?
Yeah, that's that is interesting. I didn't realize it was that bad. I mean, I knew that people were stealing stuff and reposting it, but I thought it was mostly like getting ripped out of games and stuff. So I'm kind of surprised. Let me see. Go ahead.
We also have to protect many things in our assets. We give the entire C# code open, but we, for example, we don't give shader graphs for our shaders. We just give the code for the shaders, because there was one time when we gave shader graphs to our shader. It was a week time before there were 3 different assets using our shaders. They just took our shader graphs, exported it, and put it then into their own assets.
They just give it its own name.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's kind of screwed up. Let me post this real quick for everybody. So, Dave, you did send me a link, and tell everybody what it is real quick before I pop it up.
Oh, I thought we were just trying to publicize our asset stores. So I was like, yeah, I've got one as well.
Yeah, that's why I was publicizing. I figured I would share it for you. Get some people up there, because it is a useful tool. You can tell everybody what it is real quick.
Yeah, so one of the biggest problems with Unity is when you're working on a particular scene and you're working on assets within that scene, you keep having to move to different parts of that to work on it. And you might find yourself working in specific areas constantly. Like, I have to work on the troll at the bridge in this particular area. Now I need to go over to the lake where you're going to talk to the unicorn. And you find yourself dragging out and moving over and find that thing, or scrolling through the hierarchy, or typing in a search. This one just lets you bookmark those things, so you can just use the B button to just skip between all your bookmarks, or the drop down that can actually just jump you straight to that point. So it's there. It's the best tool for the asset store.
It's definitely I'm gonna have to say it's probably second best, because I like Odin more. Maybe third behind the Lava Pack, but
I have to start paying.
Yeah, Ram. You're right. You're right up there, though. You're in the top 3. I'll give you that.
Hey, I'm sorry. I bought it full price. It didn't even wait for a bundle. There you go. Just saying. So that's.
Yeah, I also bought it for price.
I haven't been allowed to be in any bundles. I'm too small.
You'll have to get bigger. Everybody's got to go grab it and review it. Tell everybody how much you love it. All right. Well, I think I'm going to start wrapping things up and get ready for this live stream with Mark in about half an hour. So if you're already subscribed, you'll probably get the alert notification that we're going live. If you're not, just hit subscribe so you can type in questions in the chat and stuff, and come join us. Then we'll be back, like I said, half an hour. We'll talk to Mark. I'm sure he's going to have a lot to say. Go over. We've got a lot of questions gathered up from insiders and other people, developers all around. I'm going to ask. I got questions of my own, but I'm going to ask questions from other people as well, because I don't want just my stuff. And then see what all he's got to say. I assume there's going to be quite a bit, and it should be pretty interesting if you're curious about how this all came about, what's going on in the future, and I guess probably get some more insight into the future of what's happening at Unity and the final versions of these changes. Just make sure that you come join us there. Other than that, I don't think I had anything. Oh, there was one other thing I was going to mention. I may as well mention. Do I have a link for it here? I mentioned earlier that I'm working on multiplayer stuff. Oh, I don't think I have a link up here for it. I'm working on multiplayer stuff and multiplayer tutorials, and I was curious what people are most interested in, if they want to see more dedicated server stuff or peer-to-peer. I'm doing both, but I'm kind of trying to get an idea of where everybody's at. So if you're into that, here, I'll type the link in chat. You just go to game.courses/multiplayer and just let me know which type you're into, and then I'm going to try to focus on that stuff first. I'm thinking I'm going to go peer-to-peer stuff first and then dive into dedicated server stuff. But if everybody cares about dedicated server stuff, then I'm going to start there and go the other way. So just go check out the form. It's just game.courses/multiplayer. You can just put in whichever one you're interested in. Let me know, and I'll start sending out some emails when those are all ready. I think that's it, though. So thank you, everybody, for coming out to join us. Again, if you haven't seen the full post, go check out the Unity blog post. Let me link that as well, so you can check it out. They've updated the pricing. Changes are drastic. We're going to be diving into those details again in just a few minutes with Mark. Let's see, where's my blog post? Unity blog post. Show up as the top thing on here. Open letter to the community. Here, I'm going to drop it in chat. Go check it out, and then come join us again in half an hour and find out all the extra details that you're unsure of, I guess, and all that other stuff. All right. Anybody got any final words?
Yeah, you've got half an hour. You could fit in a couple of stories videos and a couple of mine as well in the meantime.
Oh yeah, without a
Yeah.
doubt. Go watch a few. Go check them out. Go subscribe to Warped Imagination. There should be links down in the description. If not, I'm going to make sure I go drop them down right afterwards. But we'll see you all in just a little bit. And if you're subscribed, we'll see you again next week for more game dev chat as well. So goodbye, everybody, and see you soon. Once I find the video, there's a little video to go away.
Seriously.